the questions are, like, will he fight for a world title? Mm-hmm. Does he really care? Blessed to have met a lot of very special young people. He blew me away. Arsenal's like Netflix. It's always next season, isn't it?
Would you fight on Misfits?
Yeah, mate, I'm 36. I've got a clip with the missus.
I mean, seriously, people, do you think I'm doing Class A's and then giving interviews after a fight? So what do you think?
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Beyond the Plate, live on the Stomping Ground, with my tremendous co-host, Troy Deeney, who's just done one of them health shots. You know, they're a bit woke. They're a bit in at the minute. I actually quite like a little health shot. With the Don Kalle himself. Talking of shots. Kalle Sauerland, thank you for coming on, mate. How are you?
I like a shot. I like a ginger shot.
You like a ginger shot?
Yeah, is that a health shot?
Yeah.
What would be your go-to shot? Not ginger, on top line. We're gonna have a tear up. We're in Vegas, me and you.
I'm not really fussy like that. Vodka.
Vodka, yeah.
Good vodka. I don't really believe in the old
Jägermeister.
Belvedere's.
Oh,
hold
yeah.
on. Hold on, actually. Jägermeister, but that sends me loopy.
Is that the one? Yeah.
No, I'm
That's
not good.
for me.
I'm not
Jäger's
good.
your
I'm not,
kryptonite.
no, Jägermeister. There's something about it that it's got a bit of cough medicine to it.
Yeah. Could have more than one.
But if you have it chilled, it's actually quite tasty.
Yeah.
So you know when you're doing a shot, you're like, oh, Jägermeister.
You don't get that as much. Yeah.
Jägermeister has that sort of thing after a cup. You're like, oh, that actually tastes quite good. It's a dangerous place to be when a shot tastes good.
Yes.
Shots shouldn't taste
Shots shouldn't taste good, no.
Yeah, what's your shot of choice?
Tequila, yeah.
You a tequila?
You know what I fucking hate? This is such a weird start.
Is supposed to be like a drink. Like my friends who, especially my
Like
Mexican
on the
friends.
rocks?
Yeah, but you
Or a
sip
mezcal.
it.
Yeah,
You don't
You
shoot
sip
it.
with a bit of
you know?
orange, yeah. That's a very British thing, I think, shotting tequila.
Yeah, we should have a tear
You know
up,
what I
haven't we?
can't fucking stand? Sambuca. It's like having a licorice shot. I don't know
that-
why.
no, that's a bit of PTSD from younger
So that
versions.
reminds me of back in the day when you
Yeah.
went to a Greek for a takeaway. The takeaway weren't ready. He said, would you like a sambuca while you're waiting?
You're like, yeah, go
And
on
I'll
then.
put take your time. It's a second, you know. That reminds. I don't know if they still do that. I mean, you know, Deliveroo sort of killed that.
Yeah.
Deliveroo did kill that. I've never been offered a shot
I
while
just-
waiting for some food. I mean, if
Before
someone
we
wants
get
to...
right into this, can I just say,
Go on.
this is the first guest we've had where you've fully sunk into swearing the lot. Everyone else, you've tried to be like legal journalist.
Really?
Yeah,
There's no
now he's got
legal-
round you.
there's no legal
Got
when
round
it
you
comes
and
to
his
Kalle.
arse has spread out.
No, with Kalle, there's... while we're recording, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a slight level of sensibility, but
Yeah.
we got the big dog.
Go on, you start.
Let's go straight into it.
Absolutely.
We want to go all sorts, because I know with you, you're a big football fan as well, and obviously
Yep.
having Troy here, I think the no-brainer is to go back to some of your stories following England away in the past. But I suppose start from square one. Kalle Sauerland, the boxing promoter, obviously your old man worked in boxing, you would have seen boxing through that.
Right, old man's a Hall of Famer.
Of course,
Oh,
of course. Levels.
Nip that, yeah.
No,
nip that. Yeah, nip
so
it.
what
The
do you
books.
something
want
that
to
was
ask?
always
I
there.
like
What's
to
the
jump
back-
in these questions.
What's the backstory? Where did it all begin for you?
That's the thing. Like, people say, how long you been in boxing? And I'm 27 now.
28, Kalle, 28.
Plus 20. So I'm coming up to the
Big one.
the big one, but I don't really do big ones anymore. I'm retired. But
Don't believe that.
well, many millions would agree with you. Read the comments. But no, where did it all start? It started on the 14th of April 1977 when my mum gave birth. Because,
Spinning.
I just it was babysitters growing up. So my family were a bit mongrel. So we grew up first in just outside London, Bourne End, Buckinghamshire, and my old man, whose business was really in Africa.
Okay.
So he left. He was German, or he is German, and he went to
Let's say
Africa
he
after
changed
the
German.
war early. made good money in Africa,
Yeah.
but not in sport, and got into boxing. He would do government deals, so import, export, government deals, and as part of a deal in Zambia, he cut the deal. Leaving the room, they said, "Oh, conditional. You have to stage a boxing show here." So my dad said, yeah, of course, yeah, Bob, no problem. We'll stage a boxing show for you in Zambia. Walked out and thought, oh my God, what am I going to do, right? He'd met Mickey Duff out in a club in London. I think it was Tramps in London, a big nightclub back in the day. And, I'm going to call Mickey, right? Get Mickey on the phone, calls him up and said, look, Mickey, I don't want no money for this. You're going to come over here and you're going to promote a show with me in Africa. And there's legendary pictures of this first show. I think it was 1978. I should know the exact date, but I don't. And they pulled it off, 60, 70,000 people. And he got the bug for it. And I was born around the same time. So that bug growing up was basically meant we had a load of African fighters who came over, trained by George Francis, who was training Bruno as well. So Bruno would be around the house. So growing up, it was I had a lot of babysitters from Africa. Phenomenal talents. Phenomenal talents. John the Beast Mugabe, Chisanda Muti. I'm going far too young for your demographics here, but
sorry, we've all got Google, mate.
Yeah, John the Beast Mugabe, you'll remember from the Hagler fight. But went on to be world champion. But they were more or less like babysitters for us.
Yeah,
it was because they were living in the house when they come over. My dad fitted the whole garage was like ringing there. So yeah, it was pretty much.
What's it like growing up around fighters? Because I just recently, I was on the way down actually. I listened to Eddie talking with PBD out in America, and he's saying that being around winners and fighters, and obviously his dad, similar to you, a Hall of Famer promoter. Does that instill in you a desire to win that you don't even know until you're older? You can look back and go, actually, yeah, I'm used to winning. Eddie's
a good salesman. I'm sure that's the way he'd spin it. I couldn't quite say that. I would say that growing up around fighters in that environment showed me the discipline of the sport. It showed me discipline of how they lived and how they didn't live, some of them.
Yeah.
There's legendary stories. George Francis used to handcuff John the Beast Mugabe in training camps to him. So when he wanted to go for a pee during the night, he'd have to wake George, or the other way around. Yeah. George wouldn't have to wait because he would slip off. He came over here from Uganda. Right? Thought London was this amazing bright lights big city, but was training for Marvin Hagler and all the big fights. And George was one of the most fantastic trainers. You seen that Four Kings?
Yeah. Unreal.
Look at George Francis. George Francis plays a big role in that, especially the first episode. He was a big figure for me growing up, George Francis, and Mickey in a certain way as well, Mickey Duff. We'd have these Sunday lunches. Now I'm moving on a bit. I'm sort of early teens, mid-teens. And every Sunday, Hampstead, Villa Bianca, Little Italian, George Francis, Mickey Duff, occasionally Bruno, obviously my dad, and then sort of special guests. It was a 1990 version of a podcast. Right? Because I just be sitting there, and I would just be
watching and all,
just taking it all.
So this was my sports education, business education, humour education. Oh, John Conti was another one. He was down there a lot. And it was like, we just knew on a Sunday that's what we did. Yeah, it was a Sunday afternoon. It was 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock. So yeah, I had loads. But going to my first boxing shows, I remember. I think I was 9. Went to my first one was in Atlantic City. John Mugabe again on the undercard. I wasn't allowed to stay for the main event, so I had to leave. I remember crying my eyes. That's when I remember that part. I was too young at the time.
Yeah.
My dad was pretty strict like that, and then it was holidays. So when you're a kid and it depends obviously what sort of family you're from, but there's a holiday, whether it's a caravan park or it's Disney World. Kids look forward to holidays. And my holidays were training camps, right? So I remember my dad goes, "We're going to Florida." we're going to Disney World. No. We're going Tampa, mate. And this was before like the days of Google where you're like, right, Tampa,
what's going on? Yeah.
But anyway, we found there was Busch Gardens out there, but we were out there for 3 weeks over Easter. I'll never forget it. And it was John Mugabe's training camp in Tampa, of course. And we went over for that. And and that was always
That's brilliant, though.
Later on it was mountains as well. Mm-hmm. So we go mountain camps.
Yeah.
That was more with a German boxers then. Now we're talking late 90s.
Was this always with your brother as well?
Always with my brother as well, yeah. We were sort of inseparable. Yeah.
When did it become apparent for you that you wanted to follow in your father's footsteps?
It still hasn't.
Okay.
No, I got overfed boxing. I went totally off boxing. So that's where the football comes in. So I sort of about 16, I just like posters on my walls weren't Transformers and Star Wars. It was, KO,
Fight
Ring
posters.
magazine.
Yeah.
So it was like, it just got too much. And I then started to get into football. Chose wrong team. In fact, I chose two wrong teams because I could have been Arsenal or Tottenham, living in North London. Went for Tottenham. Then that was a little bit also a boxing story. Denny Mancini, the legendary cut man who ran Lonsdale, he started taking me down Tottenham.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It was a little bit like a godfather to me, and he started taking me down Tottenham. And then it was the country question. My old man, Germany or... And obviously my mum's British and living in the UK didn't feel at all German.
Okay, so, did you not at all?
Nah, not at all.
Because you would have been to Germany a lot growing up though, right?
You just said for training camps.
Not so much. No, but that was later. So at this stage it wasn't really much going on with Germany. So it was like this, but don't forget my dad... We speak English. I don't speak German to my dad. So I never did. So he didn't live in Germany in my lifetime. Like when I was born, yes, but then it was like immediately shipped off to the UK. And it was, so we were but again, I could have chosen Germany. I went for England. Right. So I missed out on a few
So you got the short straw both times.
Yeah.
Nothing major.
It's all good, it's all good.
But you're still here.
And then it was like getting to football, and I wanted to be totally into football, and that's the first path in my career that I chose.
Okay, well then let's pick up on that. I was going to go boxing heavy first, but if we're going to do it in a chronological form of life events. So you talk about those first memories. What was it about football? Was it the escape from boxing, do you think? Where you'd been subject to sport to the point where maybe it had just become so overwhelming, it consumed your life and you thought, all right, I can go and be free. I can be a fan as opposed to someone
it was a lad culture when we were growing up. It was a very different time of football now. It was
more around the hooligan time.
Yeah, it was definitely that was a big element around it.
Because that was my old man was big on that as well.
What team was he?
Birmingham City, so Zulus.
Oh yeah, Zulus. Yeah, they were big. That was a big. Yeah. Birmingham wasn't a nice place to go. It still isn't a nice place to go to. But it certainly wasn't a nice place back then to go to. but
still live there, but it's fine.
No, I'm talking about football-wise. No, it's changed a lot over the years. But
I'm with you.
But no, it was like it was it was Saturdays were go and hang out with your mates and go.
Because there's a few different elements to it, wasn't it? So my old man used to break it down to me that because he was involved in the illegal side, it was go meet up with the boys. Let's say they played in London, go down in a couple of vans, in and out of Marks and Spencer's, throw what they can in the back, go watch the football, have a tear up, back home.
I need to meet him. I bet he's got some stories.
He's dead now. He's been dead a while, but he's that was his weekends. Like really? They would go. Nick what they could, put it in the van.
With the intent of going in.
No, they go to have a tear.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but it was
two for the
two
price
for one.
There
you go.
Yeah.
And get back, have a beer and
it was
a different time, wasn't it?
Times, and people when you look back at, and we talked about your Stone Island back there. I remember that emerged. Yeah, that whole culture came out of. A change in the laws. So it was basically that they made a difference between an assault and a football-related assault.
Yeah.
It was a totally different punishment, totally different system, and the way that the police would tag people onto football assaults were kits.
Okay.
So kits, tickets on you, things like that. So what they did was they adopted what you call now as the sort of terrorist culture. There's loads of different names for it, I know. Casuals, that word was...
Ultras.
Ultras, casuals.
That's very modern. That's very modern. No, that's far too modern for me. No. That's foreign. But at the time, it was that, and it was the way, this land... And it didn't necessarily mean that everyone... dressing that way was going for a it was a lad's thing, and the lad's thing is difficult to define in 2024.
Absolutely.
What it was back then. It just changed so fast.
But also, it was a way of ingratiating yourself with a group of people. But also, see how you could buy that. This is how it was always explained to me. You had to earn wearing that.
Yeah.
As opposed to you could just wear that, or you could wear the Burberry, or you could wear.
And it was. If you, mate, you know about it. You know about it.
Yeah.
It was a bit bizarre. I remember going abroad and you'd wear, a bit of Stone Island or Aqua Scutum as it was back then.
God, yeah.
Good name. Very good name.
And that was, when you got abroad, like it was like, it was everyone wearing Stone Island, and it was. Yeah, it was a bit strange.
It went from this emergence to
now
everyone
it's just
now it's just casual gear now, isn't it?
I still like the clothes. It's a different time, isn't it? It's a different time. Yeah. But it was a culture, and it was growing up in London at the time for me.
So how long were you immersed within that culture? Because I know we've spoke before about you following England away. And I'm sure there's many a story.
I still do. I take my son now.
Of course, yeah. So I know that you're out in Germany for the Euros.
But I've done all the European tournaments for the last 25 years. I've been. I think the most. Actually, I can pretty say, but Euro 2000. Euro 2000 was probably France 98. France 98, there you go, that's the first one. But it was, those away trips with England, they were very fun because you go away and it was literally like an extended stag do for me.
It's mad because that's the first football tournament I remember. I was 10.
Which one? 98?
No, yeah, I was 10 then.
It's maybe not how old I was on that one.
You weren't even born, eh?
-5.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah. Sorry, mate. Sorry. But it's mad because that's my first proper football experience. Sat down and watched it. Obviously, we had Euro 96. We were being obviously back in the in London. I remember watching that. But again, my old man was at those games. Yeah. So my mum doesn't really like football. Yeah. So he was allowed to. And you know this, especially with your son now. When you're watching it with your dad, it's a different feel. When I'm watching my mum and she's trying to put like music on in the background and clean up and that, it's not really the same. Euro 98 is when the 98 World Cup was when I was able to.
I think 96 made a huge impression on me. It was a summer. We talk about Oasis. We talked about that a lot recently. That summer, with the Euros here, and nothing against the Euros that we had here recently, but that summer
was a proper Euros.
It was proper. It was Oasis. It was Blur. It was. It was
a good time. I feel like politically did Labour just take over?
Gaza playing for England.
Labour just took Tony Blair. It was all like it was a young, youthful feel, wasn't it?
Perception of that in London, but that's
I don't remember any of it, but I'm just saying.
The whole
thing was youthful, wasn't it?
Was somehow, and people talk about like Oasis and touring now next year. And I'm delighted there's a new group of Oasis fans that are going to go and watch these wonderful shows if you're lucky enough to get tickets. But Oasis, for me, the music was good. It's all right. I can't say that it's like the most unbelievable music ever. It was about an attitude. It was about
the culture.
And it was the same culture as the terrace culture.
Yes.
And that's really
the
why...
lads who you went away with.
And by the way, Ricky Hatton, a few years later, in a way, represented that culture as well. Yeah? It was football. It was
People
Oasis.
felt like they could relate.
The whole thing.
Yeah.
So that was that time. But for me, the pinnacle of that culture was around 96, 98. Yeah.
So your old man, was he a big football fan or not? Not particularly.
Yeah, but
so
he was, and he obviously took me to Tottenham in the early days as well. But you know, he loves all football. My dad's like sports nuts. He's one of those guys.
Sports on, he'll
the
watch
Olympics
it.
is for him. I'm like, I don't know, Olympics. Yeah.
Oh yeah, curling.
Yeah.
Get excited for the champion.
I sort of swerve it a bit, which I feel a bit bad about because you know you should be if you're into sport. You should be Olympics is the purest form of it.
I get it.
For me,
purist is a big statement.
You know, when you work in sports, but you know, when you work in sports the whole time, and people like there's an event on, you've got nothing to do with the event. So you're not going to that. I said, no, I'm not going to that, mate.
Yeah.
Why on earth would I go to that? Oh, it's boxing. Yeah. And I do that 25 odd weekends of the year, right? Which is half. Take away Christmas is more than half, right? And Easter. So when you're immersed in that, and I know it's different on the media side of things, you know, you
loves it. You got to be his age.
Crikey.
You got to be young, no kids, no misses.
You've got to be
Hence
pretty.
why I've always said the dream.
Well, even that, you've got them and you want to get rid of them. That's the other.
I'm not going to say that on there because she watches.
21.
But I know what you mean.
To not hold the microphone, sit and get pissed, and then watch them absolutely lever each other.
No, it's great. It's for you. It's an unbelievable trip, and I get it.
But it is. We're talking about cultures. I know I'm not allowed to probably say this on this program, but the IFL culture, I call it because it came.
I
remember the first time I had an interview after the press conference.
I remember you telling me this,
of Froch versus Kessler 2.
Kessler, yeah.
And we were promoting Kessler and
02.
02.
Was that fight?
Yeah, so I've done the first one in Denmark, and
Yeah,
then the second one.
was at that.
Eddie came on board for the second one with Froch. So we did it the 02. And I remember just standing there after the press conference, and there's, you know, Coogan, big lad, right, standing there with a camera and a mic, and I'm thinking, what's he doing? I see him talking to Eddie, and I'm like, what's this about? Is he like work for Eddie or something?
Yeah.
Then he's come up to me, he said, can we have a word? And I go, yeah. Where? He goes, we do it here. And I'm thinking, he says, you want to do a picture with me? Or he's doing a picture?
Yeah,
and he started talking to me. And I'm like, right, because I'd only known sit down, classic interviews, you know,
lineal media, broadsheet,
you know, and you knew your journalists as well. By the way, it was like you know who you were sitting with. The Dirty Dozen, you knew them, and you know a good presser and a bad presser because you knew if the Dirty Dozen were there.
Yeah.
So and a lot of them are still there today, but then I'm thinking, right, this is
understood it with a backdrop.
And also there's noise at the backdrop.
So I'd obviously been doing for years and years these interviews in this certain way, and I'm like, whoa, is this a chat now? We're like, and I'm thinking, and I started within 2 minutes, I started really enjoying it because I'm thinking like,
I can be yourself a little bit.
I can have a bit of a banter. I realised later that this can also create some problems, but
the comments.
Genius, because people who were, and I was never media trained, but because I'd done so many press conferences in different countries, you know, we promoted
restrictions and stuff,
all sorts of countries and places, and now I've got this guy with the mic, and I'm like thinking, but it got loads of good content out of me that normally I would never
give in a million years.
No way, but you get relaxed. It's like, you know, next thing I thought he's going to. Did it help? You know, it was such a relaxed.
Did it help with business as well?
I think that, let's face it, you'll never get this in football. Right? You'll never get
the access is ridiculous.
You have the in between.
Yes,
you're like the in betweeners. No, that wasn't a little dig there, but but in between fights is really just as fun as the fights in boxing, right? It's the the promoters aren't getting on this one, this trainer's saying this about that. The fights get built out the big. We see that now, by the way, in crossover boxing. That comes very natural to it. And I think there's a big element of that, of course, thanks to your outlets. In boxing, and it's a massive part of it now. It's a massive part of it, and it's brilliant because it tells storylines. love to see it in football. Will never happen.
It won't
Will never
happen. It
happen
won't.
because
Yeah, I
the
agree.
brands will all pull out tomorrow. And
The only way you're going to get it is a bit more Amazon access, isn't it? Like trading ground stuff.
Which is
yeah, but
It's like,
even the Spurs one from a few years ago, even though it was bad.
Mourinho was funny, though.
Yeah.
Mourinho and Danny Rose.
But Danny's my pal.
Yeah, Danny.
Yeah.
So. And apparently he's a top fella as well.
No,
so
he
that's
is. But
something.
he said to me...
When he goes in there and he goes, I'll speak to Daniel about that.
Yeah.
That's the moment you know...
I'm fucked.
Mate,
Long day.
You're off.
Yeah.
You are not pulling out that jersey again.
Yeah, I spoke to Daddy Rose, and Daddy said, like, the only thing he disliked with that is because it was edited. Because he does look like a bit of a wally in it, doesn't he?
That's the problem with things like
But he said,
that,
like, the
isn't
actual
it?
chat was
I
good.
don't think he looked like...
No, but he said for himself, because there's a few bits and
He's
pieces,
got a
but-
set on him.
Oh,
Right?
yeah.
To
Daddy
say
don't
to
talk
Mourinho,
about-
or he's jumping. It was like, okay, let's push the button here, I want out.
Yeah,
How do I
yeah.
get out? I tell Mourinho I'm going to talk to the chairman.
Yeah.
He's where you know you're signing a certificate.
Yeah.
You know?
But no, he's fucking... I think those things will be great. I think we're going to get to it probably 5-6 years from now, where it's just like camera in the changing room, and
Yeah,
then
I mean,
it's going to be
even now-
live at half time and stuff.
Well, that's what they're
The
doing.
one thing I'd say is, well,
Be careful though. What
due
you wish
respect
for.
to footballers,
Yeah,
boxers are funnier.
yeah, I
And
agree.
there's a reason for that. You come into football, most of them also similar
Yeah.
working class
Yeah,
backgrounds.
yeah.
Totally agree with that. But the difference is at the age of 16, 17,
Yeah.
they start seeing
The bright lights.
the silk
Yeah,
pyjamas.
yeah,
A little
yeah.
bit.
No,
A
I'm
little
with
bit.
you.
Much
It makes sense.
earlier on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
But at 16, 17, a fighter ain't seen no silk pajamas.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
fact, he's
yeah.
probably sewing the silk
Yeah,
pajamas
yeah,
for
yeah.
someone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So like the characters. Like
Yeah.
where would you put this? Like imagine Del Boy,
Yeah.
Chisora, one of my favourite characters
Yeah.
to have promoted. Where would you put him in as a footballer? I mean,
Yeah. It wouldn't be allowed.
is there a
wouldn't.
footballer
It
that's
just
even
physically-
comparable?
no,
Let's
no.
move on. Let's look at Ryan Garcia, right?
Just once again wouldn't happen
Yeah.
in football.
Let's move on from there. Even look at someone a bit more mainstream, like Canelo,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The fella who his discussions with Oscar, right?
Yeah.
So
Just
these,
wouldn't happen
That
in-
you can't. Like,
Yeah, that's
who's
true.
the maddest footballers right now? Apart from Joey Barton, who's the
You don't really see an
really.
Think about
active,
it.
outspoken.
Back in the day, you had a bit more.
Yeah.
It would have been very interesting to have the
But that's where
cameras on
everything's
with
so censored
Venables
now.
and Gazza in the
Yeah,
locker
yeah. Oh
room
my
and
God,
Teddy
yeah.
Sheridan.
But again, it was that time, wasn't it? So as you touched on earlier, like in the mid-90s to early 2000s, there's still the last of the drinking culture, the last of the personalities. You could still see the, I don't know, Gaza, Tony Adams in the boozer afterwards.
It was still authentic.
Yeah.
By the way, cracking book, holiday read, not too serious. Is how to become a Premier League footballer by Paul Merson.
Oh, yeah.
And that's also
Mercy's good, yeah.
that culture.
But like, and then like, I think, so I'm 36 now. So I was probably, my first game was 2007. So I was probably the last of those boys coming out. And I seen the change so quickly. And I think the only rat blown smoke up my ass, the reason I can resonate with these guys, the younger lot, is because they'll see me walking around the street, because I'll get the train and just be a normal bloke, do you know what I mean? But most of these now, back of a boat, a bit like how you turned up in the back of a car, somebody else driving.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, Kalle definitely didn't do that.
Moving on from there, gentlemen. Thank you for coming today. But no, I know what you meant. But I think that was also a watershed moment. Was the summer of was it 95, 94, 95? Jurgen Klinsmann
Yes.
on Alan Sugar's yacht.
Yeah.
That moment, and
That's-
Arsenal.
yeah, about that.
Arsenal had to keep up with it, and they went and signed Bergkamp the same summer.
Yeah.
Was it the same or the next
Yeah,
summer? I can't remember.
from Inter Milan, yeah.
That changed a lot of
the,
things.
The dynamic
in
of the
football.
Premier League and everything.
The dynamic, the
amount of money.
Say the purses, the wages, the wages of the Premier League.
Yeah. It's funny. It's always mental to me, because I think most footballers love boxers and golfers. They love the idea of an individual sport, because in our sport we're only as good as the players behind us, or vice versa.
I do think there's a difference between your centre back, your centre back and your centre forward. The centre forward lives for that goal moment.
Yeah.
So that
We want to be in the spotlight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to be in the spot. I want to got my celebration.
Yeah.
I want that buzz.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That and you see like I'm using Tottenham examples there. Sorry, but Richarlison.
Yeah.
He don't score, his head goes down. Like instantly. Very talented kid, but if he doesn't score within the first 5 minutes of coming on or starting, it's like you see.
It's a waste of time,
and when he scores, it's like this
elation of like that was me. That was my moment.
So I think there's also a difference in footballers. Goalkeepers are also very different.
They're strange.
Well, it's a little bit. Who was it that said
strange group?
That's what everyone always said.
Goalies are strange.
Goalies are always fucking bonkers.
I'm good friends with Rene Adler and Peter Schmeichel actually.
Yeah.
And Peter Schmeichel was a bit different to any other goalkeeper because he was more like a centre back.
Yeah,
you know,
massive,
that mentality of like, get him off.
Yeah.
And Adler also was quite. So those, I've got to say, they were already. I get on well with goalkeepers. I might say something.
But I must have more about you. I think.
That might say that.
Right, I'll take that back.
Yeah. Kalle definitely doesn't get on with goalkeepers.
Yeah.
No, I just.
Sorry to be rude. I think I'm going to be sick. I'm just going to run in the toilet. What's it? I don't know where that's come from. I'm trying to hold it down. What's it?
Sorry, it's the goalkeepers.
That's an interesting pause in the episode.
You go.
A few moments later.
I said I was actually just going to keep that bit where you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, no. You know, I was talking. I felt something.
It's the acid.
Yeah, it's a dodgy shot, mate.
back in.
Sorry, apologies.
We don't usually do
I'm not
cuts.
getting younger, mate.
So happens in your 36.
Yeah, for you guys.
You've got years.
Before we go into, I think it's very important to go into, I suppose, Misfits and everything now and the rise of influencer boxing and also everything that's present in this current world where we've now got Saudi investment into boxing and everything. But while we're with you on the topic of football, you must have had some fucking mad old experiences on away days, away trips. Are there any stories to note that you can pull out, and whether they be with Spurs or whether they be with England, where you go fucking hell? Because I know you've lived another life, Kalle, and I think
I want to watch the biopic of Kalle. That's the move. That's no, not even a movie. That's a series I want to get into.
Fucking
I am saving some of this for my my book because my book's going to be a lot different to Eddie's. Let me tell you that now.
I'm sure
my book's going to be not some
It'll
business.
definitely be
more hardcore and honest.
Will be very
It'll be a
hardcore.
bestseller.
No, because over the years, you know, if you've grown up in anything, you've gone through stages of your own life through it. And I didn't start boxing being the father of, you know, two beautiful children and actually, despite what people think, a guy who trains sort of 7.5 days a week and
that always surprised me.
Still enjoy a drop of red, but let's say I'm not really one for late nights anymore because you try that with kids, So yeah.
How old are your kids, Kalle, if you don't mind me asking?
I've got a beautiful 3-year-old daughter, she's now 4 since last week, and a 16-year-old boy. So,
brilliant.
So
more or less the same as me. I've got a 15-year-old, and I've got 2 10-year-olds and a 4-year-old.
You're definitely not having any late nights, mate, for crikey. What do you have, a van? No, mate.
I'll let her drive them.
There you go. No, I mean, you know, so you know, I've had, listen, which one? A football story?
One week. I don't.
No, actually, it doesn't have to be a massive one because that's just trying to draw him out a bit. What's been the best experience, and what makes a good trip for Kalle?
Okay. Again, politician in that sort of changed over the years.
Before you had kids,
that'd be a very easy answer, though, mate.
Before you had kids, there
were 3 essentials back in the day, but no. Before I had kids,
normally get 3 for 50.
Yeah, I mean, this is getting interesting. Yeah. I don't know what you're on about, but look, let's say. I mean, back in on football away trips.
It's got to be a good group, right?
One I've got with a mate of mine. We went to, it was England, Portugal, Euro 2000s, and they were mad. The Euro 2000, that was the one that was shared Belgium and thinking, I've got a cracker now. so actually, I forget my mate. I'm on the way over to that game actually. Got the early one, and there was a lot of trouble over there. So we're on the train. On the way to Belgium, and there's there's different mobs of young men, and we got the police coming through the thing to do passport checks on the train. And so anyways, they've gone through now. This is a hardcore England train. I've got a German passport. Right, from my old man, right? So actually I've got both, but I don't know why I had the German.
You travelled with the German.
Now, it was also at a stage when I was boxing, so I just had my front tooth knocked out, right? So I was actually without a tooth at the front, which was quite an interesting look with a Hackett top on and an aquascutum sort of look about me.
In the England train, so the German passport.
So the police, yeah, exactly. So if it gets better, so now the police have come through. Everyone, what's your club allegiance was the question. All right. So first I was Tottenham. The whole carriage, Millwall down there, right. And now I've gone behind the seat and I'm showing him the passport. It's German. He's going to say like that, please, mate. Like, keep it down. He's looked at me. And he's thought, right, I'm doing you. Oh, so you're German. I'm thinking, oh my God, like, this is. Let's put it this way: it was a very interesting train ride from there. So that was let's say one of the more memorable experiences on England away. But it was there's a lot on there. I'd say boxing away trips. Easier for me to talk about.
Yes, I'm sure.
So I think Russia is the obvious one where back in the day we signed our first. I signed my first fighter coming out the Athens Olympics, and that was Oleksandr Povetkin. So that was like, and that was an eye opener for me. Going to Russia in those days, this isn't like Russia. I know now, obviously but like as different again. But it was the Wild West. And those were really insane times going to sign Russian fighters over there. Don King went over there.
Intimidating at times.
Super intimidating. Super intimidating. But I quickly realised there's no I'm not saying there's no need to be intimidated when you've got a Russian guy standing on the other side of the room, you're there by yourself. But I've got pictures where I look back at it now and I think like I'm sitting there and they're not the nicest looking fellas all on these benches, and it's just me and a translator. So I'm thinking, crikey, you had a set on your back there.
Was that ignorance then?
I think confidence? It was young excitement, confidence, and ultimately, that's what got the signatures over the line. Because we promoted the most East European fighters at that time. They were coming over a lot. We signed a lot of them, made them world champions. Arthur Abraham, Marco Hook, obviously Povetkin. We had 7-8 world champions come out of the former Soviet Union. But you would go into these situations to sign them because all the other promoters, I realised, they were sort of sitting back making offers, but I just go in and actually fly over and talk to them. And they were like, "Oh, you coming?" I said, "Yeah, I'm coming." Okay.
They probably all thought you was fucking mental.
But I had my passport. I had to get a second passport because there were so many of these bloody visas and stamps. And I would spend. Of the year, between sort of 2005 and 2008, I'd spent a good 4 or 5 months in Russia. And I've got to say, and by the way, Ukrainians as well, so this isn't like some political statement here. Of course, just the normal people, amazing people. So we see them as intimidating. But once you go to the country and speak with them, unbelievably warm people.
Do you not find that I find that's 90% of people that I've bump into.
But I mean, you walk down the street in London, mate, there's the level of arrogance.
I agree.
No, they're not different like that. They look cold, but once you speak to them, with them, and you have a working relationship. By the way, now I can say it, he's retired now, but we didn't have a contract with Povetkin for the last 6 years. We did a $23 million fight with Vladimir Klitschko. No contract.
Wow.
How I shake your hands.
And that says a lot about the man,
You tell me something in boxing where you'd be doing that.
Yes.
And it all worked good. We're still very friendly today. Fantastic story with Povetkin was I flew in, and after the Klitschko fight, we sat and said, look, he wanted to fight in Russia, and we were doing other things at the time. So I said, look, I think we've come as far as we can, and it was quite an emotional dinner for us, but it was lovely. It was still very friendly today. But he's turned up with a shiner, so I've gone, why are you? What you done? The fight was like 3 weeks after the fight. He's obviously earned a lot of money, and he's gone, it was just a game. And I go, game? What do you mean game? He's just done 12 rounds with Vlad, right? Yeah. And so it turns out that he'd recovered, and then he goes in the gym, and he was very much into MMA fighters as well.
Okay.
So some of the bigger names from Russia trained with him as well. And they did basically this game, which was a bit like Dana White's slap now.
Okay.
But it was... They just lamp each other.
For the fun of
right.
it. That sounds about...
Doesn't sound like a game I'm into.
When people say, when a lot of fighters say, oh, well, I've had a tough fight, I need to some time off it. No, he was actually a bit more of that.
Yeah.
And Povetkin, for me, you mustn't forget, was the most decorated heavyweight amateur. He was two-time world champion, European champion. As a kickboxer, he was the same as well.
He was disrespected towards the end, I felt.
He was.
Yeah. No, I said disrespected. He was kind of looked as like an easy fight until the Dillian White, obviously the uppercut. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was like a little period of time when it was like he was like a gatekeeper.
Yeah.
And I thought that was
threw
poor.
He threw that 45. I call it 45. He threw that punch with Dillian. That was. By the way, that was his signature from the amateur days.
There's something even more special, I think, about that knockout, without any disrespect to it being behind closed doors, actually.
Yeah.
In that it was just everything was going Dillian's way. And then that split, and then you can hear both
delivered.
corners.
It was,
and that's what
he's delivered the best knockout I've ever seen.
I was in a hotel room in the countryside here. I just remember jumping up because till the last day.
Yeah.
His last fight, Povetkin, even when he wasn't with me, that was really one of the fighters I was
He delivered
to.
the best knockout I've ever seen live. It was David Price.
Oh,
Cardiff. I was there,
vicious.
and it was.
Yeah,
you know when he's hit him and Dave's hand's gone down,
and the ref probably could have.
No, but it was like the Matrix. It was like, fuck, put your hands up, put your hand.
I promoted David as well, so I remember that fight. That was a really difficult fight for me to watch. That was a brutal.
That was the best knockout I've ever seen.
Given your love for boxing, and I suppose it's even more than a passion when it's almost installed within you. Like boxing is blood to you, right? Misfits and influencer boxing is still something that has its naysayers, right? And why to you?
I'm going to remove the romanticism in a minute. But ask the question first. Yep.
Why to you was it an industry, obviously away from the financial side to it? Was it something that you were willing to get yourself involved in?
So let me first of all remove some of that thing there. I am not a fighter. I'm not a boxer. I boxed at the not even the lowest level, below the lowest level, right? Because I was terrible. But I have been immersed in the boxing world. So, yes, it is part of my absolute DNA.
Part of your DNA, yeah.
But I am also able to take a step back and recognise business decisions. And that's something that... when I looked at crossover boxing, I remember my kicks came to me and said, this KSI fight, and I'm like, KSI fight? I didn't, this was the second, it was the second Logan Paul fight.
Because the first one was in LA, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was with the Zone, Eddie.
Yeah. That was in LA, no? Billy Joe and all that.
Billy Joe on the card.
I remember we were doing World Boxing Super Series at the time, and someone at the press conference asked me about it from ESPN. And actually, I still see that quote thrown at me sometimes. And
sounds about
I said,
right.
I get it. It's not for me, though, and whatever. And I had, for quite a few years before quite a few years before the inception of Misfits, I had Mams Taylor, who was KSI's manager, telling me, come on, let's set this up, But Bams was managing some of the biggest rappers and superstars. And, we were promoting a lot of boxing. So we sort of had these conversations. They go very hot, and then we wouldn't see each other. I'd see him every time I went to LA. And we lockdown, we sold our business to Wasserman. And Mams was in London. He said, look, come on, let's meet with JJ once in the office. I hadn't met JJ up to this point. He's walked in, and I've got to say, I'm blessed to have met a lot of very special young people in terms of talent, characters,
Charisma.
my whole
Yeah,
life,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Even people out of not just boxing, you know, whether it's music, whatever. I've been blessed the way I've grown up. He blew me away in terms of like, and working with him now as his business partner. He is so like honest, so moral, so thinking long term. For a young man, he leaves loads of money on the table to do the right decision where you'd say, wow,
he might have said that.
Certain brands he wouldn't work with, certain areas he wouldn't go into. And I'm sitting there and he's explaining it's not about a fight, it's about a place where people like me can come and fight.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just like that, I just like, wow. And there's a picture of us together that day, and that was the day.
I remember that was you, because didn't you guys sign? Because I remember KSI came out and he put a tweet out about something to do with Wasserman Boxing, and then it went quiet, or what felt like it went quiet for a little while. Was that the road and the pathway to creating Misfits?
That was so we met the day in the office. That wasn't when he put it out. Then we put together, and I quickly started learning about this crazy world. We put together. I was in Hamburg. Mams was in Nashville. JJ was God knows where in his ecosystem.
Yeah.
And he put a piece together. I put a thing on my iPhone. I was like, how's this going to work, right? And he just said, come on, let's get out. Right, we're working together. Right, this is Misfits. Right, and at that point, we knew we wanted to put this event on in the end of August of the O2 in London, but we weren't there yet. And they've just gone and like, Lord, I'm at the airport, and my phone starts zimming because I've never had my ringtone on. It's always vibrate. Mate, this phone is going wild. Yeah, when I say going wild, the biggest fights, unification fights announced. This is bizarre.
Didn't compare. Yeah,
it did something like, I think he did. Was it 17 million views within a day? Okay, and I'm like, okay,
that's the impression that these guys have. Yeah,
okay, this is interesting. Right? Yeah. This is interesting, and and then went on and did the first event from there. Yeah.
You must look sometimes, and I look as well, and I think what's really cool about Misfits is being like, I'm a hardcore boxing fan and I work in the sport of boxing. However, I grew up watching these guys. So we were just talking downstairs about the Sidemen charity match, right? Which is something that your kids would absolutely love to be at. And it's almost like, it's almost part of British culture now, is the YouTubers, the Sidemen. I grew up on them as well, watching them play FIFA or whatever. And then you have the sort of side where you look at it from the boxing fan, and then you look at it from I actually quite enjoy this space. But there must have been a couple of times where you've sort of been at these events and you've been like,
couple of times?
This is fucking interesting. Are there any that spring to mind?
Can I answer? Sorry, I don't know.
Great question, by the way.
Sorry, I don't know. Am I right for it always kicks off at these Misfits?
But that's probably what makes it so good.
Sorry, his question's better than mine.
So, the first week of Misfits Fight Week, I'll never forget, was I said to Mams, I'm not being funny, but a lot of these guys and girls they've never boxed before. Someone's going to leave us at the altar, right? Someone's going to last. I've had it with pros, right? Where they've done a runner, right? We had Josh Kelly's opponent not so long ago. He'd done a runner. We were in the arena waiting. He'd done a runner in the hotel room. So there's. I've had it with Nikolai Valoev, promoted Nikolai Valoev. His opponents did a runner all the time when they turned up and said, I'm not fighting him. So I'm used to that. So I'm saying 100% they're going to come here for the clout. They're going to do the press conference and do a runner. I couldn't believe it. No one did a runner. They all turned up. Now, when I arrived there, you say English culture. I agree with everything you said. It's nothing to do with English. This is a global culture.
Internet culture,
it's global. Mate, we did on the pay-per-view cards. We see India pop up like with significant buys. I've never done a
JJ's
TV
out there at
rights
the
deal
minute.
in
Yeah,
India for traditional
Massive,
boxing ever.
massive.
Huge market.
They love that
but
space.
Australia, you know, I don't know what time of the morning that is for them.
Yeah.
But it's
they're obsessed.
It's
you know,
a
from a
mad
business point of
place.
view, was that eye-opening? Just how big this world is.
It
you would have
was.
thought
It was. But
there'd be an
but
ignorance,
at
wouldn't there, before?
At the same time, I'm thinking, like, this has got to be some sort of a phase, but it's not, because
Yeah.
they're
still
literally-
going strong now.
They still, but it's like they love to see this online beef, and then we come back to what you're saying with the, and of course there's a couple that, you know, I'm standing there, I'm going, yeah, go on, I'll move away and let's see what they actually do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. Yeah, a lot of the cameras on, I'll jump.
The bravado, give it.
But there's some, you know, HS Tikkytokky, for example, doesn't quite understand that
Yes.
part. And it's just like...
So let's talk about that. So this is something I can... Do you know who HS Tikkytokky is?
I know who he is. I don't know
This is
him.
hilarious.
I'm not massive.
And this is something that's gone very viral at the minute. This is the last thing I ever imagined myself speaking to
get me
Troy
now, isn't he? 'Cause I
Deeney
probably
and Kalle
haven't heard of
Sauerland
this.
about.
Oh.
They do predator stings, right? So they will...
Go find
speak
nonsense.
to- Yes, basically.
Which-
but pretend, so they have a decoy... And then which I think happened recently,
Yeah.
right, in Dublin. So HS Tikkytokky's knocked his opponent out.
This is
where I say there are certain moments where Kalle must be doing Misfits.
This is the
and
maddest
thinking,
one. This is
Jesus
definitely the maddest
fucking
one. Go
Christ.
listen.
So he's gone and knocked his opponent out in the first round. You've seen
Let
Ed
me
Matthews
tell
as
the story
well.
from
Okay.
here. I jump in the ring.
Yeah.
I go, well done, mate. He goes, I'm about to make you super fit. You got to watch now. We're going to do something, and you're going to be in on it. We're going to go get someone. I'm like, right. Okay. And DAZN's saying, right, interview. And he said, no, before the interview, we've got to do it before he's going to do a runner. I'm like, who's going to do a runner? Right? I said, no, you've got to do the interview. Mate.
Yeah.
It's like
It's on
part of
DAZN, by
part
the
of the TV deal,
Mental.
right?
Yeah,
DAZN interview, you know. And he's never been in a fight before, so he's like standing there, and he's got Ed Matthews on the thing. And they're pointing to someone in the crowd, and I'm thinking, what are they doing? What are they on? And I'm going... He goes, please, let me have my moment. And I'm going, yeah, of course, bro. And I'm thinking he's going to make an emotional speech or something.
Yeah.
Someone has now come up to me going, no. And I'm like, no. So let him have his moment.
Yeah, he's
his
fine.
first fight, you know, let him have his moment.
Yeah.
And I'm going, don't know. I said, pushing everyone away. Come on, you go, you crack on, lads, you crack on. And someone said to me, now they're going for a nonce in the crowd. And I'm going, what? So
Mate.
now
we're going to get a
I'm not
nonce
saying I'm
in the ring after his fight,
Yeah.
live on DAZN, and out him for being a paedophile on
Do you know what?
DAZN.
It is mental,
And
but I got a lot of time for it.
Yeah, I was just
I got a lot of time for the shit out of
This
it.
is the thing.
Yeah.
The dad talking to me saying, go on, let him have it. And then it's
The
like,
businessman, yeah.
there's like,
The
yeah, but hold on, no, but
broadcasting,
just a second, like, they get the wrong fella, it's live on it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes. So liable.
So I'm
Yeah.
thinking, how can we get best of both worlds? So I'm like, okay, do the interview quickly, and then throw him out the ring and then come
And then go and do it.
So it was
He
like...
goes and
it was-
does him
yeah,
in the crowd.
What came of it, actually, I don't, what did come of it?
They just got a little viral moment, basically, where loads of people slapped this
Yeah.
bald nonce's head and called him a nonce.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I mean, it's,
But that's
okay, it's,
what I
again,
mean.
it's a world
It's-
that
This is where we talk about
a
far and
47-year-old
from
guy, I
between.
can't understand
You've
that.
gone and told us
Yeah.
stories about brokering deals where you're the only man in
Yeah.
the room and there's Oleksandr Povetkin and his crew, and then you're sat in Dublin in the middle of the ring after the guy who's won his co-main event by knockout, and he's going, no, I'm going to sting a predator in the crowd. I mean, they are vast worlds.
Yeah.
well,
You know the thing for me, like, again, I'm in the dad mode as you. Like, anyone who messes with kids
totally.
deserves
That's
explanation.
for me.
Do you know what I mean?
For me, there's crimes, and it's like
There's tiered. Yeah. That's at the top.
There's that
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
That's
That's
different.
fucking mental. I know the name of who
Yeah.
you're talking about. I feel like he has fights with everyone, like, on the street and that, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think he had that
Sorry,
fight with that Zerka.
sorry to be
mate.
disrespectful,
No,
but I
no,
don't-
it's
I
not
don't know who he is,
disrespectful
yeah.
in the slightest.
I'm not big on Insta,
But that
so.
is what I find so funny, working in the sport and seeing professional boxing on a day-to-day. We see His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh come in, this money where we're seeing all these fights in Riyadh, and then you see the polar opposite, which is this world of misfits, which obviously has people that want to watch, massive demographic for it. But you go from
It's a bit
press
UFC
conference-
though, isn't it? In the sense of
Yes, it is actually.
it's a bit wild. It's
Bit
a bit
more
wild, wild
unhinged.
west. You're probably going to see a
brand
knockout.
led as
Yes.
well.
Oh,
It's
okay.
brand led. So, like, again, for me, you've summed it up quite nicely. I have almost like a day job and a night job, and
Yes.
I don't know which one is which right now, but
Yeah.
But it's a brand that has come through very, very fast. It won't stop at boxing. It's not the Misfits isn't just boxing. It's about we've created a space that's very engaged. Yeah, and sometimes
you have ownership in that as well, if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, but we're part of. We're basically partners.
Yeah,
so it's a different sort of relationship. And it works. Listen,
Pardon the ignorance, by the way.
Yeah, no. So that's fine. I mean, it's in terms of how it works. It's really Mams is great at sensing that talent, but it's JJ who knows the scene as He's the OG or the godfather of that space,
the internet space.
You know, and look, he still wants to have big fights. He still wants to do those fights. But even when JJ hangs them up, that space is always evolving. It's always bringing
There's
through.
always new talent.
There's always talent or...
I've just realised, JJ's KSI, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I met
It took
him
me a
once.
while to get used to that as well.
Yeah, I met him once
as well.
at Tottenham, actually, for an NFL. This is before I think he was like massive.
Yeah.
Lovely fella. Only ever had one interaction with
Sorry, on that topic, I just thought I've got fucking Troy
random.
Deeney next to me.
Random.
No.
Sorry.
Would you fight on Misfits?
Yeah, mate, I'm 36. I've got to clear it with the missus. But younger me...
How old was Danny Simpson? How old was Danny Simpson? He fought on...
With the greatest...
with the greatest respect. How old is Mike Tyson?
Yeah,
right?
I was about to say...
No, that's not Misfits, by the way.
Yeah,
we wouldn't do that. But at the same
my
time...
point is, it's not the age. Not the age that's the problem. Got 4 kids and a missus. I have to clear things now.
He doesn't
understand yet. But
you wait.
If the price was right and there was a reason to, like, it wouldn't take much for me to have a fight.
No, because I look at you and I think that's a geezer who'd absolutely love a fight.
When you said Simo, and Simo's my mate, pardon again if I'm wrong here, speaking out of turn, that's a safe bet. Simo's not taking someone's head off. If you get what I mean.
Do you think you'd take someone's head off in Misfits? My guy, that's what we want to hear.
No, I used to box as a kid as well, and you know,
Sick, so
I've had a few Kalle fights on the cobble, so it is what it is. But I'm not promoting that. I'm not promoting that. But yeah, if it was right, then we'd do it. But I'm an old man now.
No, fine. I just thought we'd got here. We've got the gaffer of Misfits. There's no reason that we wouldn't float it. A couple on WBSS. Because
one of the best things I ever watched.
Sick, and I'm gutted we don't have it now. I mean, we're lucky.
Why can't we have any more, Kalle?
Listen, I think they're, and I was involved as the chief boxing officer. And listen, some of the best fights that I've had the privilege of promoting were under that banner, and it's such an amazing brand. I think they will bring it back again. I think that they look and see what goes on in that space. That group represents the Champions League of football, the biggest film studio in Europe, and I'm sure they will come back to it again. And from a personal interest point of view, absolutely love to see it. But from a boxing point of view, I think you've got to take.
Just stopped all the bollocks.
It got all of the fighters fighting together.
Yeah.
And actually, His Excellency in Saudi, they're certainly doing a fantastic job for boxing. And it has a bit of that feel to it as well.
It does.
It is a great brand, and it's just the question of when they can bring that back. And that's not really in my control, but it served up the fights.
And they were all over the gaff as well. WBSS was everywhere.
Yeah, it was.
I
remember the first season. I remember that was the most. We've done back to back and back to back, and a lot of promoters do. I see Matchroom with their global to zone deal. They have to do a lot of that. But nobody has done those 8 weeks like WBSS did it. I remember 8 weeks non-stop throughout in different countries, but with that level of production.
Yes.
It was like the level of production. You turn up and like, oh my gosh.
It was years ahead of itself.
Yeah, it was.
Because it's probably when you look at the last World Boxing Super Series, and like the production now, there's not too much difference.
Yeah.
But if you look at it at the time, it was light years ahead of everybody else.
There's a lot of things that were taken into productions now. Whether you look at, I don't know, to Zone Sky or in the States, ESPN, a lot of the elements of WBSS have gone into that. But at the same time, it's it's not just the production, it's like the fights, it's served up. And it goes again.
Yeah, the
people
fights
say,
were just elite.
how do you make boxing big again? Well, the Saudis have done it very quickly.
Yeah.
It's a very simple
Make
recipe.
people fight
mate.
each other.
The best versus
Fight the best.
But because the money,
Simple as that.
because the monies came into it, and you obviously paid the fighters really well. It took that element of losing your own away, didn't it? Because it was a financial element to it. I think that's what Saudis are doing now.
100%, 100%. I think that the longevity of it, though, will also be that, you know, boxing tends to take the piss sometimes. People have to be realistic that, you know, when you look at the Saudi model, you can't go and expect like, oh, I normally earn £1, I want 10.
Yeah.
Hey, but that's just wrong. That's just wrong.
Is it fair to say there's always peaks though, right? So Sky came in, it was a peak.
If you're asked to fight outside of your country and you're a star in your country, that has a value to it.
You're going to have that.
But I think that the perception, and I think that's going to change, and what the market sort of says is that's already changed. And the prices will normalise more.
Yeah,
of course, you'll always get paid a premium. If you're told to go and perform in another country, there's a premium on that. Whether that's in the United States, Japan, or Saudi Arabia, it doesn't make a difference.
It doesn't matter where it is.
So it's not like, oh, well, we're going there, so it's got to be that much because they got loads of money.
Yeah, I feel like the market changed. So remember, you had Sky. This is my time. Sky come in, boom, it went up. Then it levelled out. Then the Zone. And then it levelled out, and now it's gone Saudi. It'll always level out.
And it was, if I looked at the purses in season 1 of the World Boxing Super Series, in series 2, there was already big change.
Big jumps.
But I remember like the first negotiations in World Boxing Super Series, and it was like, I was turning up to these things. First of all, it was very cloak and dagger. Yeah. So I had to explain to people on the phone, right, I want to meet you. Well, fine. I said, no, just let me, it's a multi-fight, because... Don't forget, I'd done this years before with a Super 6.
Yes.
We would always call it the Super Series. The Super Series is the Super Series, and the Super 6 was 10 years. I did that 10 years earlier with Showtime.
That's Carl Froch.
That was Carl.
Very
good.
I was there.
Carl Froch, Kessler.
There was
Arthur Abraham, Andre Durrell, Jermaine Taylor.
I watched the
Andrew Ward.
The Carl Froch Jermaine Taylor fight when he stops him with about 30 seconds to go. Is that right?
Fight, but basically was the eliminator to get into Carl Froch. Yeah. That was the one before.
Yeah, I remember that. And then went into that bad
That
series.
fight sort of led to
the Andre Ward.
part of it coming together.
Yeah.
But the first was, so imagine you're in boxing and you call up and say, who am I going to pick out here? Let me pick out a funny one. I think I'll pick out, the Callum Smith negotiations. I'll never forget this, right? Okay. So Joe Gallagher, Sean O'Toole, his lawyer, Eddie Hearn who came in as well later on, but Eddie got it because Eddie's easy to talk to on a media rights basis, you know. So you explain, right, this is the product, this is what we're trying to do, and it's a very different discussion. So I remember, and it was with the Smiths. It was, of course, I'd worked with Paul a lot. I was in later years would be with Liam as well, but I remember like a lot, and they would be, as a family, involved in these discussions, yeah? So I remember like getting on calls, but this was later. So the first time I met him, I said, oh, come down with me. We met at some gentleman's club in London. Did my meeting always in a place where I knew we had a guest list, so that, you know, it couldn't be seen by anyone sort of dropping past. And I'm sitting there and got them all come down, and I've gone, look, they go, what is it? Is it the Kessler fight, or is it this fight, or is it, you know, because Kessler was coming back into the fray at the tournament, and I'm like, no. All right, it's Eubank, isn't it? And I said, no. I said, it's all of them. Right? It's a tournament. Yeah, right. And I'm like, yeah, no, it is. Luckily, the Super 6 had been done before, but it took me ages
to actually explain that.
Not only to explain it, because it was simple. This was much easier than the Super 6. Super 6 was round robin. Yeah. This was just like quarter-final, semi-final, final. That was quite easy to explain. But it was to gain the trust of people that this is actually happening. Yes. Mm-hmm. You know, it was like last year when I got the first call off Spencer Brown in November saying, oh, yeah, can we do Lyndon Arthur, Dimitri Bivol on a Saturday morning? And I'm in the gym. I'm saying, Spence, I said, you all right, mate? Yeah. I said, right, could you run that past me again? It's 7 a.m.
Yes.
It was like, and then they put on this mad card.
And it just happened like that.
And I totally understood where Spence was coming from, although I did admit I had to call him out and say, Spence, you weren't down the pub early or something. This was really
this is something.
There's a couple of other mad fights we discussed that. I'm not going to even go into them. But look, ultimately, it's gaining the trust of, and in boxing, let's face it, we're really mistrusting.
There's no trust.
So it was
boxing.
like, in that part, I guess you at the beginning have to overspend to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And that.
But didn't even for the super middleweight tournament, it might have been all the tournaments, I can't remember, but I distinctively remember even like the draw being in Monaco.
Yeah,
like everything was glitz and glam.
It was top.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was. You know, it was.
Does it not?
Yeah,
Monaco,
it was.
It
almost felt a little bit too good to be true. I mean, it wasn't.
No,
It happened.
It was,
it was just
and
a boxing
that's for
purist
me.
dream.
What took the sting out of that one? Well, not the sting, the roll out of it was definitely COVID. You know, and that was that. And then when it came back, the media rights situation had changed with DAZN, and there was lots of factors in it.
Took momentum out of it, maybe. I suppose now on the current crop, someone who obviously accomplished it all in the WBSS and a real road warrior, Oleksandr Usyk. Did you ever expect for him to go on to do what he's quite done now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember when we did the unification fight, the final, raising the Muhammad Ali trophy in Moscow. I remember before that fight, so he won the semi-final, obviously against Breedis in this unbelievable fight.
That was a proper close. It was arguably his closest fight to date, right?
By far. If you look at it like that, absolutely by far. It could have gone either way.
Yeah.
But he got the nod, and we had originally planned that final to go to Saudi. Because we'd done a deal with Saudi, the first ever deal in Saudi with the GSA at the time, and that fight didn't go to Saudi because Moscow came in for that final because Garcia was on the outside.
Yes.
Now my issue was it's kicked off. Russia, Ukraine at the time had just kicked off for the first time, not major wars right now, but at the time, I'm like, so there was the issues. In the southwest, and so they've said, well, you know, the main office in Switzerland's called me up and said, well, you know, this is sort of your issue. It falls under your area of expertise. Could you go and explain this to him? So I've flown out to, it was Barcelona, and he was in training camp out there for the final. Gone out, I'm thinking, oh my God, like, how am I going to explain to him? You've got to go into a country which technically you're at war with, and go and fight the final.
In the final, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm expecting, like, you know, this isn't asking, you know, Carl Frotch, you're going to go back to Denmark for the second fight. Yeah. We're not going to do it at the O2. That would have been bad enough, by the way. But this was a different area. So I've turned up expecting the absolute worst, and waiting in the breakfast room for him. Took an early flight over, and he walked bowls in typical Usyk fashion, And you know he's got his people with him who speak English as well, but he can talk good English when you're alone with him.
When he's not got a camera.
And he's just got this humour with him. He goes, "How much?" And I'm like, he knows. Yeah. Right? So there's no icebreaker here. How much? Yeah. You know, Kalle, the way he was. Kalle. He has this lovely sense of humour about him. And I'm joking. And honestly, no issues. Sweet. We had to put on, obviously, security was topped up, which we offered anyways.
Of course.
No, absolutely.
He could have held you out to dry, though, couldn't he, from a financial point of view, if he wanted to?
Yeah. Well, let's put it this way. There was, you know, contractually, he would have been in a pretty bad situation, but...
To get it done, though, he could have nicked a few.
To be plain sailing on it.
Yeah, but that the fight, it doesn't try and leverage it more, was
precisely.
And it just showed me what a warrior he is, yeah.
Do you think he does it again in December against Tyson Fury?
No, I don't.
Does it?
If I'm betting, which I don't do, I would go with Tyson.
Would you? Why?
I would have on the first one as well, and I would have lost my money. So maybe I'm wrong again. I just feel that I think the first fight, it looked like he done something with his weight. It didn't, for me, I think he should be heavier.
Yeah.
I think he should just be the man he is.
Like the bigger man.
I'm not saying he should be Tyson when he's, let his hair down a bit. I think that he just has to be Tyson. And if he turns up and doesn't let him off, like last time it was too much playing around with him. There was rounds when he had really good, like I think the fourth or the fifth, and then he had a great round. And then the next round, Usyk's just...
Can I ask a question? Everyone, I feel like when AJ fought him, even when Derek fought Usyk, we're talking about, everyone said, you need to be the bigger man. You need to be bigger, stronger. How does he, even when he fought Tony Bellew, he was bigger, this is why it's going to be difficult. How does Usyk manage to make everybody change their style to fight him?
Because he's one of the most exceptional fighters in terms of his tactics and skill, and being able to, it's easy to say this is my tactic.
I totally get that, but I mean, so the weight cut is all before that. Before you get in, when you know you're fighting Usyk, it seems like everybody changes their plan going into it.
Yeah, because you don't know what Usyk's going to turn up as well. Yeah?
Okay.
He never fights two fights the same. So you go look at all the fights. Also, the World Boxing Super Series, there's quarterfinal, final, semi-final, and final. Absolutely different. Not based on the opponent.
Yeah.
He does it like
what he wants to do.
Normally, you'd adjust. Okay, that my opponent's got a good right hand. All right, I'll step this way. I'll keep an eye on that. Whatever the tactic is, based on the opponent.
Yeah.
I think he does it a bit different. He feels like, okay, they know that Usyk. I'm going to show them this Usyk now.
Wow.
That's the guessing game. I truly believe, though, that Tyson who can also do this. We saw that in the Wilder series. It's a great case study. Just look at the 3 different Wilder fights. There's 3 different Tysons. I truly believe that if Tyson hits his 100% or 95%, Tyson is fully there. Tyson doesn't play around with the weight too much. I mean, he has to be...
bigger.
Be fit, and we've seen Tyson when he doesn't look so fit. He should look fit.
Yeah, but
he takes everything into his court. I think if he turns up like that, I don't think Usyk can win. I don't think whatever he does. And I think it's about not overthinking what Usyk's doing, thinking
just
what
Tyson being the best Tyson.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, they don't understand how good Usyk is, and I think they saw it that night. Yes. And a lot of people, let's face it, a lot of the mainstream didn't see his cruiserweight.
No,
absolutely didn't see some of his early.
They didn't go on the road against Huck.
We're on the road against everyone.
Hunter.
He hasn't fought in Kiev yet since 10 years. So he is an unbelievable athlete. You see those dancing videos, I mean, you've got to see me on the tiles, but he puts me to shame, And he's
so I remember...
the skill is nuts.
I remember I was supposed to go when he fought Tony Bellew, but I couldn't make it. So I sent my mum, who doesn't know anything, for her birthday. And she was like, I don't know nothing about boxing, but whoever that is the best I've ever seen.
My mum did the exact same.
It was like, she's the best I've ever seen. My mum was at that fight.
My mum said the
and I was like,
but it was also the way he... the variation of shots. But it was a variation of shots as well. Well, you say that. So I remember the first time Usyk fought with us on the WBSS, and he fought Michael Hook. So everyone before is like, this kid is unbelievable. And I'd be totally honest, I'd seen a bit of him before, but not that much of going through. I'd seen him in the amateurs. I saw him in London. But let's put it this way, it was a little bit the brand Usyk in the boxing scene at least. And it was like, first 3 rounds, second round, I'm thinking, Hook's put it on him. And I'm thinking...
What were they on about?
This is a hype job, right? Because Hook wasn't necessarily really everywhere, but he was, and I'm thinking Hook was coming towards the end of his career, and he should have taken him much earlier, put his stamp on it at least. End of the 3rd or beginning of the 4th round, mate,
just flip the switch.
It was like, okay, seen what he can do now, right? Here's me, right? Triple jab.
Oh my God.
It just looks like he breaks people's spirit, doesn't it?
Well, that's it. I think
that's what I saw in the AJ fight.
Yeah, in the AJ fight.
He just breaks people's spirit.
You ain't getting in Oleksandr Usyk's head. And I think maybe Tyson Fury, that's one thing that they probably take away from. Look at the bravado on Fight Week. You've got Team Usyk, and you almost can predict how they're going to come in on Fight Week. They're going to be very military style almost, as in they walk in their pack, they do their media, they get out. They don't really speak to anyone. They don't faff around. It's that very typical sort of Eastern European style.
It is military style.
Precisely.
It is military
Whereas
style.
you had the Fury camp, and probably more so with the Fury camp, maybe, because you get that they're just enjoying life. They are travellers.
No. General John, I mean, he certainly looks like he's out the military at times.
Yeah, well, no, I agree with that. But there was that element of, in hindsight, and I know people within the camp have said this as well, the two maybe different mentalities going in. And I think they realised...
fractured from the outside, and we heard all, obviously, the different stories.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, you know... And that, by the way, is... quite often in camps, especially when you've got big camps. And you've assembled camps. So he's kept on a lot of people from day one, and he's had people come on. So there's always, when you've been there day one,
of course,
you're not happy when people come on because of this. So everyone's got their opinions. I think the most important thing, looking in from the outside, and I Tyson came and trained in our Berlin gym when what was that, 15 years ago now? Something like that. It was the first time I saw him. He came and trained over there, and I was so unbelievable leg work. I just watched him. And he must go into himself for this fight. He mustn't be listening too much to other people. He
just do what Tyson does best.
And normally you say, "Oh, well, what's the coach for then, mate?" Well, I'll tell you what it's for. It's for when you need him.
When you need.
Yeah. But Tyson. We're all giving everyone. Ask experts, right? What's their strengths? They'll all put 98% will put down boxing IQ when it comes to Tyson and Usyk. To be fair, go and use that. Go and use that boxing IQ without taking the piss this time. Use that IQ and you'll take it home.
I'm just conscious of time. I know it's about boxing, but we haven't spoken of Spurs. I can't have a Spurs man on here.
True, fine.
Also, not take the piss a little bit.
Let me go one more. Let me go one lastly on boxing,
go.
And then we'll finish on Spurs because we always talk Spurs. I thought you were
going to talk about work in football. We're going to talk about Tottenham.
Yeah. I know,
mate.
Lastly, on the boxing topic.
Shouldn't have worn a roll.
This may also make you feel the same way. Everything with Chris Eubank Jr. Now, I don't know how much you can disclose or whatever. I don't expect you to do that.
But I think he's disclosed a lot, hasn't he?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I find it a little interesting because we know that obviously your posts come out after the whole scumbag thing, and it's obviously, right, guys, just whatever, like, play happy, families, cool, whatever. I then spoke to Frank Warren, and obviously Frank Warren was the one who went into that room with George, His Excellency, Ben Shalom, and Eubank himself that day, and basically he said his side of accounts was, no, he went in there and he said what it is, you know, we'll take the photo, whatever, all happy families, but he went in and he made it very clear how they felt. The thing that people keep saying about Chris Eubank Jr., and Frank often uses this, is the whole next-gen thing. You're 36 years old, next-gen, whatever, so be it. The frustration that the public have, I think, is within the fights that he has. So Sarah Mehta, as the last time out, you know, for example, I think, you know, some of the argument, we left the, you know, Kalle because we couldn't get the big fights, and then you go into a fight with someone like Sarah Mehta. What was
he actually tweeted last December, I don't want the IBO fight, and then 9 months later was doing the IBO fight.
Yes. Yep. Was that around? Yeah. And I remember there was another argument around that.
Let's just put the facts on the table.
I do like that little drop. Just drop it.
What was it with you that changed? Because I remember times where you'd go and visit him in Vegas, and it would almost feel like it was up positive and up, like, now you're away from it and you're out of that whole scenario, from the Conor Benn fight to not happening and then everything that went on from there. What's your take in hindsight on it all? As much as you can say.
Yeah, I'll go back to those lunches with Mickey Duff, and he taught me very early on, mate, you want loyalty, go buy a dog. Yeah. No, it's boxing. Come and go is the expression that springs to mind. I've had great times with Junior. It's funny you say that with the next gen. This isn't some dig or something. I didn't know that is a nickname. I never really thought of it because for me, Eubank is the name. Yeah, Eubank Jr. So I would never refer to him as, oh, let's see the next gen.
No.
You know, when I think about it, it's a bit of a funny name, but he might have another reason for it. So, but for me, we had great times together. We had bad times together. We had great times again together. That's the way life goes, you know. So I wish him. I honestly, people think I'm talking shit here. I do wish him the best. I hope he takes those big fights now. I hope he also sees that the dynamics haven't changed in terms of what the money is. I don't know. You know, maybe Saudi Arabia can add extra money to that. He certainly won't be more money in the United Kingdom than he got offered at the time. For if it's the Ben fight, but there's other good fights out there for him. So you know, he'll
can I just time in a little bit on
those fights?
Yeah, I was about to say the perception, and I've met Chris a few times. I don't have any problems or any skin in the game at all. But the perception is always he has a warm-up fight, has a half decent fight, and then goes missing, plays poker or does whatever, gets injured, whatever it might be, and then every time you think, right, now is the time for him to take that leap, he never does. Is that... I'm more of, and I don't mean this to be disrespectful, but I'm more of, when you start changing your manager all the time, and the only one person that we could kind of lay the blame at is the person who's always changing. So maybe it's you. Is that a fair assessment or an unfair assessment?
I think it's an assessment that you correctly make on the facts from the outside. I think it's an assessment that, I mean, I remember giving an interview when we signed it after the WBSS.
Yeah.
We've had a few different working relationships, but and then obviously we had a couple of tune-ups. There was a chance to fight for the world title with Andrade. Then we decided to go. We do another tune-up, which felt right as well at the time. It'd been out for a while.
On your side, okay.
We'd been in America with PBC and only fought once in 2.5 years.
Was that the Komarov fight?
Yeah, and also that fight was a no contest sort of fight. So he had a bad run as well. So I thought it's the right decision. Give him a couple more tune-ups and. To be fair, let me
I'm not trying to.
No. I think let me bat for Chris for a second as well. He signed to fight Ben.
Okay.
You know, he signed to fight Conor Ben.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And what happened.
Yeah.
And he was in that room on the Friday, still wanting that fight to go ahead. So I can't say he was dodging it. But again. The questions are like, will he fight for a world title? Does he really care? I don't
Do you think he does?
I think Junior's a good businessman. I think he'll
he'll
try and wait for this big payday
the Canelo
and then take it from there. Maybe he will fight for it, maybe not. I don't think the Canelo fight happens, but if it does, it does.
On the Conor Ben topic, because we're now looking like, well, will we see that fight? Who knows? It's that ongoing topic that I can't actually still believe we're even talking about it. At least we're speaking about it in the light that we were three or so years ago now, where we actually see that there's a world that it might happen. Do you have any regrets as to the whole, situation, how it was dealt with?
I'd say, look, you always learn in life, of course. I don't regret nothing, but I learn from certain things that were maybe a little bit the way the information came over. It was also a very weird way it was handled with us. Let's put it that way, because we weren't the offending party. We got very little information. So when you're standing there and you're not getting any information, what are you supposed to actually say? Yeah? So, you can look back at it and see this was right, that was wrong. And I don't know, now they've cleared him totally. I don't know what that actually means. Does that though mean that, hold on, they cleared him totally, so someone must be liable then?
For loss of earnings.
Forgotten us, forgotten Chris. Chris went through a camp. So if he's cleared totally, which I don't think it means it that way, but that
there's a loss of earnings and stuff. Yeah, of course.
Hold on, well, someone's basically
there's a knock-on effect that goes on to that.
Yeah.
Killed a career for a year, right? So there's that. So what? But going back to where we came from is what do I say to people when they say, oh, he's going through the same cycle again? In fairness to Chris, he signed to fight Conor Benn. Let's not forget that part. Whether you think it was a big fight, small fight, wrong fight, right fight, he signed a fight. It's
he signed a fight,
isn't it? He signed with me to do the WBSS at the time.
Yeah.
So, a lot changed when Senior went away. And that's obviously, father-son relationship is a very special relationship. That's always the case.
Do you find him harder to deal with respectfully after Senior had moved away? Because I remember Junior coming out recently and doing an interview and saying, well, he felt like his father was so dug into him on his boxing career that he needed him to take a step away and just be a dad to him.
Yeah. That part,
that's not fair to talk about now.
That's for me, it's the business part of it. Before it was, you'd speak to, he had one advisor and Senior, and that was it. And in the end, it was 7, 7 people.
Too many.
And it was like
too many voices.
A lot, but none of them, not a single one was Junior. I rarely spoke to Junior. Rarely.
That's mental.
So that was a bit of an odd setup at the end. But again, I do think that Junior is, when he sees big fights, he will take them. It's just got to be on the conditions are right for him, and his conditions sometimes are very high. But he's a businessman, so he's factoring it in. Right decisions, wrong decisions. I can't knock him for that.
Just lastly, before we do get on to Tottenham, and it's just because I just find the whole thing fascinating. I speak.
He's gone back into bringing Stomping Ground.
Yeah. No, as a friend, I suppose, really. But you see the whole scumbag rant, and there was, I know, we've come out and we've moved away from that, but there felt like there was resentment from Junior about that fight. But he signed for that fight, and he knew what you knew, I assume.
Yeah, but we passed on everything once.
So then,
of course.
What is that resentment? Why the scumbag part?
I don't. You'd have to ask him. You'd have to ask him. I think he. I know because I've seen certain messages, which I'm not going to talk about now, but I know that he thinks that we were being vultures.
Okay.
To quote a quote. He'll know what I'm talking about. But he'll know that we weren't being vultures when the numbers are the same. So hopefully one day we can have a cigar together.
Yeah.
Tottenham.
Yeah, now you've made it fucking miserable. Let's go even better. Tottenham.
Yeah, let's just make it more depressed. There's a term. Come out of it thinking,
obviously, I work quite a lot on TalkSport, and there's a term that always comes up, and you're very aware, Spurs. You know that.
Yeah. We invented it, yeah.
Yeah, there's a question.
I mean, Arsenal are getting there as well, but yeah.
I like this. So you're on my train of thought. There's a question always.
I've got a new one for Arsenal.
Go on.
Arsenal's like Netflix. It's always next season, isn't it? Sorry, you continue on Spursy now, but I want to get that in early.
Yeah, no. So there's always this question of how do you fix it? Now I think it's a two-pronged question. If you're the owner and you're a businessman, if you're Daniel Levy, it's a good business model, right? You got a great stadium, great training ground, you make a lot of money, you're always in and around, and you're selling tickets all the time. Why would you feel the need to invest more? And then on the fan side of you is you just want to win something.
Yeah, I think you'd start with the business model is in football today it's Champions League. So you qualify for Champions League, that's all your business done. Yeah. Of course, then you take it to winning, becoming champions.
Yes. Yeah.
And that sort of.
But they're telling them so much, so aren't they, Kalle? From everything else, from NFL and all of that.
But to become champions, you also need to, unless you're going to do a Leicester on it, which happens once every 100
25,
years. You can wait another 100 years. It's coming up to 75 years now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Since we last won the league. But we're not even talking about leagues. I'm talking about League Cup potential. That'd be fantastic.
A bit of silverware.
Exactly. Starting to make my son not say I haven't won a trophy in my lifetime. My eyes are seeing the glory of the cups at White Hart Lane, right? We have to sing that every Saturday. And I explain to him, well, mine have, yours haven't, mate. You were in your mum's tummy at the time when we beat Chelsea. So it's, but I don't know. It's a painful life being a Spurs fan. I'm sure everyone's going to be laughing on here now, so I'm not going to give away anything. But we still enjoy it. We still enjoy watching the football. I still love going to to my old Stomping Ground.
It's a lovely stadium.
Yeah, unfortunately, all the old pubs have gone, but the stadium's lovely. The area's not so, but that's what we are.
I'm in this one where I love Spurs. I've loved Spurs for years, from like Klinsmann to David Ginola, all of these older players. Dare I say, even when Sol Campbell was playing, I apologise.
Yeah. Never heard of him.
Who's that?
But you get into this point now where it's like, I never in my lifetime have ever thought Spurs are going to win the league. I've never going into a season thinking, do you know, like, even Arsenal fans
even
this year
the
would have
Leicester
thought
season, even the Leicester season, people talk now about the Battle of the Bridge and all that. Yeah, mate, it wasn't the Battle of the Bridge. Even if we would have won that game, we were still 4 points behind or something. It would have taken. So that wasn't like Chelsea. Oh, you didn't win the league because we done you at the Bridge, and I'm like, no, mate,
not quite.
It wasn't quite a Battle of the Bridge. Like you call it a Battle of the Bridge, we don't call it Battle of the Bridge.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah,
there's not. Unfortunately, in my. I properly started going to football at 1990, 91, so I got lucky. I saw the FA Cup 91.
Yeah.
I was stuck in the Nottingham Forest end. I got tickets off the wrong tout. That's another story.
Jamie Hardeman was saying about that.
That's a story for another day. Shout out, Jamie. But yeah, no, you put the nail on the head.
Yeah.
But I'm content with
what it is,
no, I'm not content with what it is. No.
Sorry, I thought you was like, I'm happy, mate. We've got a nice stadium.
I'm 47 right now. Look, I'd be content with a Europa League. Right? I'd be content with a league.
Take anything.
A League Cup would ease me for a year or two.
It would. Yeah.
But
you've seen something.
I don't come with the Audi Cup, right?
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah, but that actually, I feel, does you more trouble than anything.
Can I ask one final question? And again, he's an hour and a half, so I apologise. If you had to pick your all-time five players who represent Spurs to you.
To Spurs?
Yeah, just Spurs players. Doesn't have to be like goal in that, but just like five players that made you.
I'm going to have to go with Lineker because that was a big part. Lineker and Gaza were, of course, part of the beginning for me. I'm going to go Kane.
Yeah.
Because that's a big era. Klinsmann, because got to throw a German in there. And I'm not going to say Stefan Freund. How many I got left?
Player, though.
You got one more.
I got one more. Teddy
Shane.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got all strikers, haven't I? I mean, Razor Ruddock, Gary Mabber.
Do you know what I always find mental, because we've had him on the show, Jermaine Defoe. Obviously scored loads of goals, but he never seems to pop up into anybody else, and I just wonder why. Is that because he left and came back?
But you're asking five.
Yeah, of course. If you went into 10. Yeah, I'm with you.
Teddy. Yeah, but I need to start. I've only picked strikers. I mean, Ginola.
Darren Anderson.
Darren Anderson's created more than he scored, obviously, but him and Sheridan were lethal. Dumitrescu had some fun games with him. He was a lively character.
Robbie Keane.
Robbie Keane. Yeah. So
Berbatov. Berbatov, Robbie Keane. No, just wondering, because it's always interesting to see.
Berbatov's a bit slippery though. He went to Man United. Didn't he?
He wanted to win something.
It's only Teddy. He went to Man United and won fuck all. But that chant worked until he won the Champions League.
Shit. Can't lose that one. No, lastly, I know we've said lastly, just very quickly, Kalle, do you ever look at your phone and you see the thumbnails that we use? I to this day, actually, I'm going to bring it up now if I can find it very quickly. Yeah. The best YouTube thumbnail I've ever done was with Kalle Sauerland at my old channel on Fight Stars. Let me see if even that comes up immediately, which is absolutely ultimate Kalle Sauerland. What camera am I?
That's a fantastic thumbnail. But that's a fan-made one. I can't find my one. The amount of gifs and memes and God knows what. Yeah. Let me tell you a little story about my jaw, right? Because I know that everyone thinks that I've been out partying when my jaw starts going. So years ago, there was the BBC of Germany. It was actually with Povetkin. There was a Povetkin fight, and they did a father-son story on us. And they've got a camera. And my old man at the time was 70s. Was he now 84? He was about 70, 72. And there's a picture of him going like that. And I'm sat in the row behind doing the same thing with my jaw. So there's the two of us who look absolutely off our rockers. And then I'm like, it's just like a genetic thing. So now I'm watching my son play the PlayStation the other day. He's sitting there with his, and it is like a nervous tick. Now I know everyone's going to say this. Don't buy that. And you know what? Show me the love. I think it's great.
I think you quite enjoy the memes as well, by the way.
I really enjoy them. I love getting them sent to me by all sorts of people.
Yes.
By the way, it took me a minute there. You was talking about gifts. If you say, "No, I'll buy it," I love getting it sent to me. I think,
whoa.
Kalle, steady on. You're not doing much to help out here.
I'm not helping out. I'm not helping. No, but joking aside, I've got used to it over the years.
I have to say, if I am
funny.
look, I shouldn't tell you this. I mean, you can probably assume it now, but I don't know if you ever go back and look at your thumbnails. But if I interview Kalle, I'm going for the most animated moment. I'm getting a bit of the video.
I wanted to say, just to kind of wrap it up, I've met you 3 or 4 times just in passing at events and whatever. And when we had the opportunity to get you, what did I say?
Troy was like,
I was like, go again, because I think you're genuine. I think you're what's needed.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you.
Thank you,
not only for this,
authenticity,
but for being who you are. Genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah. I would say with the thumbnails,
I'll make sure he does a fucking
funny.
proper one.
Yeah, proper one.
Yeah,
but
nice one.
But no, but I'm you know, since I started working in sports, emotion is something that's a beautiful drug, right? And that part of my career is something that, you know, and you can bottle it up and capture it in memes and GIFs and whatever. But those moments for me of when I'm giving an interview after a fight, I mean, seriously, people, do you think I'm doing Class A's and then giving interviews after a fight? So what do you think? Like what plan? But let it come because it's funny.
Yeah.
I saw one last year with Lyndon Harper when he won the IBO title. I'm standing there, I'm looking at the next day, I'm thinking, oh, man, I really
yes, yeah.
But it's like and that was a weekend also of Chris Eubank, Liam Williams. That week I'd been back and forth between the 2 events, done 2 fight weeks during the week. Yeah,
this is probably why people think you're on the gear. You're everywhere.
No, but I'm also very, very like that. But it's all good, you know. And I like the love.
No, brilliant, mate.
You're a
Thank you
legend.
very much.
Thank you ever so much.
Thanks
very much.
Thanks,
Ladies
mate.
and gentlemen, make sure to like and subscribe to the Stomping Ground. You can always listen on Spotify and all other platforms as well. Kalle Sauerland has been a legend of a guest. Let's hope for his case Tottenham get a little bit better.